Chaos Warriors, probably one of the most recognizable factions in all of Warhammer, specifically Warhammer Fantasy. Servants of the Dark Gods and Reavers of both the world that was and the mortal realms. I managed to get my hands on an old box of them, and I'm thinking about making an army for Age of Fantasy regiments. And it caused me to go down a bit of a rabbit hole. The army first started off with these halberdiers as a purchase on eBay, and it just kind of grew as the idea for this army grew in my mind. A chaos undivided force filled with the old, the new, and the misfit. It's an expression on how I personally believe chaos should be represented, a weird hodgepodge of weirdos that don't seem to fit together, but for some reason they stick together nonetheless. I don't have lore for them yet, it's just whatever I could find on eBay or when Warriors of Chaos came out for the old world, along with some interesting models you might be interested to learn about. As I've said, this army started off with these old Chaos Warriors, the Halberdiers, that I've started painting, but they're not quite done yet. The only finished one is their Cornate Captain, whom I started calling Cain the First-Blooded, after the biblical character. I think he's one of the best models I've painted so far. Just everything turned out how I wanted with him, just a delightful experience. If you haven't noticed from the picture here, I'm not going for just one of the gods or even the undivided black look, but instead making all these fellas members of all four gods: Nurgle, Khorne, Slaanesh, and Tzeentch. I'll probably sneak in some Malal/Malice with some of the other minis, but not going to do the Great Horned Rat because of obvious reasons. After this, I decided to use some models from Miscast STL packs to use as demons, since they're so whimsical and unique from everything else in the army that it just had to be warp demons. Along with those, I'm also using minis from Reaper miniatures, like this dire penguin and this worm thing? I forget what it's called, it's a D&D monster. And some minis from alternative armies. I'll get back to these later. Then I got this Demon Ogre Shoggoth, Chaos Sorcerer, and Chaos Champion around the time the Warriors of Chaos faction in Old World released. I was just trying to find a wizard to put in with my Chaos Demons. I wish I could have kit bashed them with the other Chaos Sorcerer that released, but that would have been expensive. Speaking of expensive, the Dragon Ogre Shoggoth. I just thought he looked fucking cool, and he is. Has this majestic yet primal look to him. I imagine him as a bruiser that'll rush at the enemy, both as a shock tactic and a distraction for the rest of the army to kill their leader. Whether he lives or dies determines how he feels that day. He just wants to slaughter. Khorne Worshipper? Maybe. Let me know what you think. The Chaos Champion I didn't get just to lead my army. I actually got him because I got this fella, Karanek. I got Karanek from my LGS, who had a lot of vintage figs from Warhammer, Warzone, and Confrontation. Because I got this demon doggo, I looked at this Chaos Champion and thought, oh, it would be cute if he was a dog owner. And now, well, here we are. A man and his hellhound. Probably going to name it Pumpkin after my mascot if I don't get a dog beast model I like. We'll see. I got these Slaaneshi Demon Riders at my LGS as well. I haven't got into the box yet for whatever reason. I just wanted to support my local shop, and these were pretty cheap, all things considered, like 35 bucks. Now let's talk about these Alternative Army minis. Alternative Armies is a miniature and game company from the UK who mainly does metal and resin models. They not only produce models for their own games, but they also make reproductions of models for older companies like Asgard Miniatures. The company started by Brian Ansell, who would later found Citadel Miniatures and run Games Workshop later on. A couple of these you can see the design elements of what would eventually become Chaos Warriors. The skulls and the spiky helmets, and just the barbarian aspects they have. The Chaos Demons, not really, they're just kind of neat. Along with the other minis being from various eras of Warhammer Fantasy, kind of gives this army a multi-generational feel. It's pretty sick. It kind of reminds me of how Jordan's Sorcery is doing his Marienburg army, although he's actually having progress with his project. I'm excited for that, holy shit. That looks so fun. Not intentional, by the way. Just want to clear that up. Also got this Troll Mini as a Chaos Demon, because it's just kind of weird looking like that. A lot of Chaos Warriors have weird steeds, like manticores, giant lizards, and dragons, so I thought it would be cool to have one for one of my guys, even though he's not particularly special. Along with that guy, I got some old Warhammer Fantasy Chaos Warriors on steeds from eBay. Not super interesting, all things considered, aside from this dude actually being the start of this whole thing, technically. Might play this other guy in the chainmail jousting game, though. Been needing a villainous looking guy for a narrative I'd like to do. Along with these old figs, I got a mini from the legendary board game Hero Quest that I chopped off its base and put it on one that's more suitable for Age of Fantasy regiments. Sacrilegious, I know, but it's not like I'm going to get the OG game to play anytime soon. And finally, this fellow from Reaper Miniatures. I forget his name, he has one. Just thought he looked very chaosy, if not a bit too World of Warcraft looking. I had other plans for this army, like a unit of beastmen, but those aren't currently sold anywhere at the moment, and none of the alternatives thrill me personally. So I'll have to wait for the old world release, I guess. Also thinking about getting a Demon Prince proxy. Maybe this Great Screecher from OPR, that just looks really rad. I'll come up with lore for this army, but at the moment this is just an expression of how I view the faction, rather than a cohesive army. Not like that's going to matter since I'm going to custom make this army in OPR's Army Forge app. But hey, it's going to be a fun project, and I hope you're excited to see them as well. If anyone has any ideas on how I should paint some of these models, let me know. I'd like to incorporate as much as I can. If you enjoyed the thumbnail of the video, go and check out Alpha the Artist, and if you enjoyed my mascot Pumpkin, check out my friend Robin. They're both amazing artists, and I can't recommend them enough. If you want to commission them, they deserve a lot of love, and I just wanted to shout them out.